I'd like to welcome everybody to our AGM. The reason we do this, it's a legal requirement, but also more importantly, I think it's good for us to get together, which we don't do enough. The apologies are from Dawn Cottrell, John McAfee, Doug Field, Amanda Lewis and Cindy Reid. Are there any other apologies?
Yeah, you've got a list of them. I'll go them to you. Where's that list?
Mel Watson, Rick Haler, Lynette Hook, Karen Trishkoff, Ian George, Graham Johnson. I'll pass these on to you, don't have to write this all down.
No, you've got to add Mavis Crow on the bottom of that. She emailed me last
Queenie
night.
Edwards, 90% of the people. Kerry Weller, Jerry Schultz, Carol Kitcher, Bob Sharp, Wendy Thompson and Mavis Crow.
And Mavis Holmes, who won't be on the list, but
of course.
she would apologise.
Mavis came to all of our AGMs, but she's struggling a bit now.
And Weir,
John Weir, yes, you mentioned him. I forgot to write him down. It's about 20 people. It'd be nice if we got 20 more people here.
Did David Jones
No.
They said she was coming.
last week?
Tricia, could you just go over the previous AGM minutes so we could have confirmation of those, please?
Sorry, when you were telling me what I should read out, I wasn't really taking it in.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah, better if you read it, because you know what you want.
We need to have the previous minutes accepted. So just quickly, same format as we've done so far. The apologies, reports by myself, which is the printed CEO report, by the Secretary and the Treasurer, which are both in last year's annual report. Malcolm spoke at length about broadband, and we agreed that we would only have one fee for broadband. I think just on that too, while I'm there, that'll come later on. Financial state, the finances are very healthy, but I think that's making life a bit difficult. General information, Colin spoke about Teamviewer, other matters, communication and help with the website, which doesn't meet W3C requirements. And then there's the reports attached. So can somebody move that they be accepted and seconded? Thanks. Lena?
Lynn again. And who seconded? And Florence Rumpelmeyer.
Now, we haven't got a treasurer or a secretary with us at the minute. So I'll ask, I might be quicker if I just read that out myself if I can find it. Until we vote one in. CEO report. Basically, for the newer people that are here, what do? We're a volunteer self-help program. We're a social communication program for people who are basically housebound or are the widows of people who have served in the military service. With the children, basically they're in wheelchairs, but it's difficult for them to go out and play with other kiddies when they come home. Our program is very highly regarded. We were the first not-for-profit mentioned by Senator Conroy in Canberra when they were talking about the new national broadband scheme, which was a bit of a feather in our cap, considering there's nearly 800 of them. And the South Australian government has said they will copy our program, which I thought was very, very good of them. Donatech was mentioned. They've been helping us right from day one, and I think it's nearly $400,000 in software that we've got from them, which we haven't had to pay $400,000 for. It's very handy to have that sort of help. The one-off donation from Stateless meant that you could all have good computers and access to broadband, otherwise you'd still be on dial-up or paying for your own broadband. Dame Elizabeth, even in her fragile state, still made a donation. We got our last donation from Mr. and Mrs. Meyer, and they are reviewing their future. Mr. Meyer has stepped down from his trust and his daughter is in place, And to keep the continuity, she's agreed to give us $3,000 a year over the next 5 years. Council support's not very good, and for the first time in 15 years, the Lord Mayor's Fund knocked us back. Don't know why, we've got to find out why. Our people, our volunteers are and always will be our greatest asset, so it's very important that we get them together. It hasn't started or continued. The volunteers, I think, as adults, should be able to organise to have a cup of coffee together. I can't see that that's too difficult. People who help in the program, well, there's one very special person who isn't expecting this, but every now and again somebody comes into the program and does a little bit more than what's expected, and that's really appreciated by me. It just lets me know that not everybody is a taker. So this is for Lena for doing the banking.
Oh, me?
And
The present.
for offering to host the functions.
Oh, thank you.
It's to help with hosting the functions.
Oh, thank you very much. Oh, that's lovely. I love presents. She does too.
Colin is our tech whiz, so I thought I'd get Colin something that's electrical.
Oh, what is that?
These are plugs that you don't have to go to the switchboard. You push the little button.
Oh, cool.
Works up to 30 metres away. That is for Colin. We all know that Patricia collects pens, and you have all been told not to put your pens down, or if she asks to borrow your pen, if you give it to her, hang on to the other end. And the funny part there is we had a new volunteer from overseas who didn't appreciate my droll Australian sense of humour. When she asked to borrow his pen, he wouldn't give it to her. Really nice fellow. So this year, instead of giving her a pen, I've given her something to put a pen into.
I hope it's not what you were talking about. Oh, this is lovely. Oh, lovely. Thank you. Yes, I've got that many coats, that many pens.
Now, all those people that are kind enough to come along who don't have a Beyond Disability pen, if someone could just go around and you can have a dip. There are two kinds in there. If you're old and crotchety and fragile like me, don't take that type.
Don't leave them lying
Take that type because they're clickers. These ones, you have to be Superman to get the lid off, and having got it off, you can't get it back on.
I like the clickers. It's a nervous thing, you know.
If someone could take those around. So everyone who hasn't got one should help themselves.
Can you take them around?
Because they're a dying breed.
I've got one.
Have you got one?
Yeah.
No, you haven't got any more, have you?
Yeah, I do.
Do?
Yeah.
I've got one. So.
That's
Yes, I would say so.
now, just on the CEO's report. Pass them round. Maybe I should have done this after the reports.
Yeah.
The idea of the pens is that we give them to people who support the program, and they're starting to generate donations. So the concept behind them works. But it's also a nice way to say thank you to people who make an effort. Now, just one thing that I want to touch on, the broadband. We get so many requests from people on the broadband. They want this, they want that, can we have this, can we have that? If you want something different to what we provide, you have to get your own broadband. It's simple. We have a single, straightforward package which is for everybody, and if that doesn't suit, then you have to get your own broadband. And if you're talking to people about the program, you work out yourself what it costs you to buy a computer, what it costs you, why have you released him?
Sorry, I thought it was empty.
No, it's not. It's for people who are nosy parkers and who stick their nose in, and he will do this to them.
That's good. Isn't that cool? That's a good one.
Turning around.
Oh, right. Now I feel totally embarrassed.
He won't fall off.
That's cool. That's good. Does everybody know that Richard watches Doctor Who?
They do now.
Love Doctor Who. Actually, can I have the case then to put these in?
He won't fall off. No, he didn't fall off.
Oh, the Daleks don't fall off the edge, do they?
Right. Okay, so if you misbehave, you're going to be the plumber's plunger, which is a very vicious weapon in their hand, will get you. Now, broadband, I think we've finished that. I just wanted in our notes because we get so many requests for people to have a different package. Everybody has to have the same. But coming back, so you go down to the shop and you buy yourself a new computer and you go and get yourself a Telstra broadband package. Then you have a problem with the software and you have to get, say, Office Reloaded, which is about 4 or 5 hours at $90 an hour. That's what you're out of pocket if you do it yourself. If you do it through us, you pay $21 a month, which is $240 a year as opposed to $2,000 or $3,000. So we give a pretty good package. And what Colin does over the years in helping people with their computers is saving our clients a fortune, absolute fortune. So you need to be nice to Colin occasionally. Now, what happened to the treasurer? Where did you go? Oops. I had all these reports lined up. Here we go, treasurer. Right, in the absence of the treasurer, whose wife, I think, is having a very serious problem. Come in, Brian. Grab a few. You came that way, didn't you?
Yes.
Yes, we know about the traffic. Grab a chair and come up here.
There's a spare one right in the front. Just for you.
And,
I kept it there.
and if you could pass that down to Brian, that's to help him remember to be on time. Right, Treasurer's report. The closing bank balance for the end of the financial year was $195,000. We raised $72,000 in the year. These funds were provided by the financiers for broadband and equipment. Still got to run the program. We got our last payment from the Algilbar for the children, which is Mr. and Mrs. Meyer, and Dame Elizabeth made a payment, and the King family, who gave us that big donation to go on to broadband, also made another donation of $11,000. I don't think we'll see them again. We're losing the council's support, as I mentioned earlier. Lord Mayor's Fund, who's always given us money, declined to provide any support. Federal and state government, nil. Our biggest expense is technology, and most of that is the children. Volunteer recognition is really important, and I've got some certificates here. The functions for the entire year were a pittance, a few dollars. We're quite happy to pay for the volunteers to get together, so it is important that it happens. We have the annual presentation of the National Volunteer Certificates and Badges, which people can come along to, the volunteers. It would be good if they could get together a bit more and just swap ideas about computers and people and buddy up with each other. So just on the certificates, I'll pass these around. Actually, Tricia's on her feet, so she can just go around and hand them out.
There are some pen cards.
Need software tweaks or errors or bugs to be sorted out. Sometimes these can be done by Teamviewer. And where I've had people, some of our folk down at Lakes Entrance Way, ring and when they've had issues with their connection with email and things like that. And it just works. It works over the phone. I mean, they ring and we can do a Teamviewer session. And of course, it only works so long as your internet works. If the internet is not working, well then the Teamviewer doesn't work. And it was only the other Wednesday, I think I had a call from Graham Johnson, one of our members. He's at the moment he's in Queensland. He goes to Queensland for the winter because his bones don't tolerate the cold. There's a friend that lives there in the Gold Coast, so he goes up to stay with him. Graham rang me and said, "Oh, can we have a Teamviewer session?" There was some issues with his computer that he was concerned about. So we had a Teamviewer session for 20 minutes, and I was able to fix up those issues just by connecting to his laptop via the internet and the Teamviewer, and he can see what I'm doing at the same time because his mouse is being moved around magically, but that's me on the other end, and I'm changing things, and he can see what I'm doing. He's talking to me, so it's in that respect it's very safe. And Malcolm also does this with one of our long-serving members, Mavis, who can't do things, but Malcolm will.
Mavis was living in Mount Eliza when I first started to be involved with her, and a couple of years ago she had to move into a nursing home in the city, and that presented a problem because whilst I used to go and see her every Saturday for a couple of hours and work with her, because it was more than just looking after a machine, we used to help her do things. And of course when she moved to the city it's just not feasible really to be shooting in every Saturday into the city for 2 hours on Saturday afternoon. So we set up Teamviewer so that at least I can access a machine, but her situation is perhaps more difficult than most because she can't speak and she can't now write or she can't communicate in any way other than moving her finger over the keyboard and pressing one letter at a time. And so she can't ring up for me to contact her or do anything like that. So because she trusts me, I have continuous access to her machine so that I can dial in at any time and see what she's up to. Literally go in and I can see if she's online. If she's not online, then I can get in touch with her sons and say, is there a reason she's not online? Because sometimes she can't set the machine up and she's waiting for a nurse or someone to fire it up for her. But usually the things that I have to fix are very simple because the hands are so bad. She moves the mouse and she clicks on something she doesn't want to, and of course it alters something on the screen or gets rid of a toolbar, and then she has to ask like why is there no send mail on Outlook Mail because the toolbar's just gone. So I can just go in and just put it back. So that's very convenient. Saves a trip. But of course, as Colin said, if the internet goes down, then it's useless. And so occasionally I have to make the trip in to either replace the laptop because it's had coffee spilled over it or something else. Because again, Mavis just finds it very hard with her hand. So we have a spare laptop always ready to substitute. Just means swapping the hard disk over, but that means a trip because you've got to go in, fire up the modem. And the other inconvenience of Teamviewer, and then I'll finish, is that if you do something which requires you to boot the machine, like you've just downloaded something and you've installed it, it says, to finish this off you've got to reboot the machine. That's great, you can do that with Teamviewer, and it will reboot. That's fine. The snag is the internet connection won't reboot. We've got to find a way around that to get so that the internet connection automatically opens rather than having to click on connect. Yeah, it's a pain, particularly with the Optus one. Well, we'll have to work out a bit of, we could do it some way, but that's an annoyance at the moment. Anyway.
I asked Tricia if she could organise for someone to speak about Skype. I think Skype in our program is invaluable if you're stuck at home, if you've got friends and family overseas, if they're just on a holiday and you want to keep in touch. So if you could just touch on Skype for us.
Oh yeah, Peggy and Vi, they both use Skype regularly.
I'm on Skype and I like it because I can get in touch with people that I can see what they're talking about. Plus, it's a big bonus because I can contact my friends and family overseas, and it doesn't cost you a penny or a cent, I should say, and I find it very, good. So I can recommend it anyone to get on Skype because it's so accessible.
If you were feeling lonely, do you think it's a useful thing? If you're feeling a bit lonely, do you think it's useful?
Oh yes, yes. And especially it's more so if you can see the person too, it makes it much closer. Yeah.
Peggy, you communicate with your two sons regularly, don't you?
Sorry?
You communicate with your two sons regularly on Skype, don't you?
Yes, before I used to just use email, which I used to have to write out and then go to the computer and type it all out. But now it's marvellous, and I also put money onto the account, and if my friends haven't got a computer, then I can bring them much cheaper. It's a very cheap way of long distance calls. I see my sons regularly. I also say to all my friends, I will be on Skype at a certain time every night, and they know that they can get me at that particular time. Whereas with emails, you've got to keep waiting. It's just a marvellous system.
One of the things with Skype, when I thought about our vets program, was it took my mate about 30 years to tell me what happened to all the friends that he was serving with, that they were all incinerated in front of him, to talk about it. And I thought, well, these guys aren't getting any help. And I read through a report from Professor Blunt, who did it for the federal government, and just extending out his numbers, there were 22,000 living servicemen here that have what's called post-traumatic battle stress, and they weren't being looked after. That's the official figures. They're the people that have been diagnosed or signed on. It's probably, I think the RSL, someone told me, about 3 times higher. But if you've got a mate in Queensland and you're feeling really down, you can just crack a tinny and give them a bell on the thing, and you've got their face and you can talk to them. And hopefully then it diverts you from the problems that you're having. Because there are still people running around at 2 o'clock in the morning with a loaded firearm, diving under the bed every time a plane flies over the top. And that's not right. So it was just something that we could do to help.
Just on that, Scott, Richard, when my dad was still alive, beginning of the year, he hadn't spoken or seen his brother for, I think it was 1973. And I took the computer in, and his daughter, the uncle's daughter, took her computer into a nursing home. And they both had a good old chat there for about 20 minutes. And he went away in tears. So
It's a powerful tool.
Yeah. The only problem I had was the time. I can't get used to the different time zones.
That's what I find is the problem with our relatives in England, He wants to get on, say, late at night, which means I've got to get up and get on there early in the morning, or vice versa. Yeah.
And they change their daylight saving,
Really
And that's when it's a problem, because you have to work out with daylight saving, Yeah.
It doesn't worry my daughter in Ireland. When she wants to ring, she rings.
She probably
Ryan, did you have anything you wanted to add? Because we knew about the traffic snarl.
Sorry about the yes.
Did you have anything you wanted to
I
add
thought
about
it
what you're up to?
I thought it was coming the other way, and I went, no, we'll do it.
That did hard.
Only that we submitted a number of applications for funding during the year, and I think a few of those were successful. A number are not. I guess we just have to keep applying, as Richard would say, keep our face in front of the various foundations and the various bodies. It's just an ongoing process, and we'll continue with it, I hope.
It's going to get harder. It seems,
yeah. So, but I gather we've had success with a couple that I didn't think we might. So that was good. But our strike rate's not that high either. You do a lot of work and you don't often hear necessarily what the results are. But we've had some success.
you would think what we do, when you think about the people we help, would be worth supporting if you had billions of dollars to give to people so you could get a tax break. And surprisingly, it's not. We really have to fight hard to get our story across. And I still come back to the fact that we're the only group in Australia that actually does this, and whether that's what the issue is, it's, we've set a precedent, and we've proven that it works because the accolades that we're getting from the South Australian Government and the Communications Minister mentioning us first before some of the really big charities. He put us as first to come off the rank. And we have to move on now to election of office bearers, and in view of the fact that the various positions, myself has been nominated by Peggy, seconded by Kobe. Thomas has been nominated by me and seconded by Peggy. Colin Richmond has been nominated by Tricia to be our treasurer and seconded by me, and Colin has accepted that. Anne Barker has just joined us, and of course I said, would you like to be secretary? And she thought, oh, I only just joined. But she agreed to have a crack at it. It's not really difficult. We're only a small group. We're not like BHP. So Tricia has nominated Anne, and it's been seconded by Lena. Brian has agreed to continue as our funding rep, and he's been nominated by Ron Farnell. And Ron is also a very talented artist who produces this kind of artwork. And I was the lucky person who got it last year, tried to put it back, and they all jumped on top of me and said, no, you want it fair and square, you keep it. So it has pride of place in our heart. Tricia McGill has agreed to stay with us on the committee, nominated by Colin and seconded by Kobe. Malcolm has agreed to continue as our broadband consultant, nominated by Brian and seconded by Florence. And on the general committee we have Peggy Stocks, Cindy Reid, Amanda Lewis and David Buchanan. Amanda Lewis has agreed to come on the committee purely in case of Colin having health issues. I think that's funny, having health issues. I don't think we've never not had health issues. And I've got the names down here that are nominated and seconded for Anne, so if I could just have someone to move that be accepted, and a seconder, please. Moved.
Fiona Forster.
Nicole.
And Nikki.
Who was the other one? Nicole England.
And could I just have a show of hands that everyone accepts that? And a show of nods for those who can't do the show of hands. I should have thought about that because it hurts to lift your hand. General business. Correspondence in. Right. I haven't had to use him yet.
What's he actually for, Richard?
Him?
Yeah.
For people who talk too long, but butt in when I'm trying to get to a key point. This
People who uncover him when they shouldn't.
plunger, I think that's a marvellous weapon. A plumber's plunger will destroy you.
Oh dear.
I have a letter from the Department of Justice. They keep writing to me because I'm the patsy that goes to jail. No, I get fined $7,000 and 5 years disbarment if I cock it up. To be completed by the 8th of November for a further 3 years. Must be completed on the due form. Please note that fundraisers who only use unpaid volunteers and raise less than $10,000 are exempt. I said to them, we don't have raffles, we don't telemarket, we don't have a ball, we don't have auctions.
That's something we could have, couldn't we?
If you want a ball,
A
go
ball.
to the backyard.
I'd like that.
But they said you still got to fill the form in. I think it keeps the bureaucrats happy. Pathways Australia have asked us to renew our membership, which this year is, we're a little 440. They do provide a number of benefits, which is great if you operate out of the city. But we get a pretty good list of potential places to raise money, which I straight on forward to Brian to have a look at. It's handy. And I know the CEO. He gets us very good coverage. You may recall one year we got a full page just about in the age. It had me nearly life-size in my wheelchair. That was all down to this guy. Pilch. I'm going to ask Brian if you can help me with this, hopefully. Reforms for Victorian Incorporated Associations, May 2012, due now. They're bringing in a lot of changes. Unfortunately, the last few months have not been kind to me, so I really haven't looked at this. If your revenue is in our area, I think it's going to hardly be a bother to us because it starts at 250,000, and it'll be a long time before we have 250,000 revenue. So I'll just ask Brian if you can have a peek at this and let us know what has to happen. Is that all the mail? That's all the mail. Questions from the floor? Questions?
How many children are there in the group, like getting computers?
Handful. I think it's got about 9 or something.
About 6 at the moment.
Is there any
It's
parents
just going
there?
down.
But is there any parents
Yeah,
there?
Linda and
Okay,
there's
so
one
one,
at the back
two.
there.
I don't know if you consider Thomas a child.
If you have a look at the annual report, they're all in there.
I'm just surprised that
Pictures
we
of them.
just don't hear from a soul, you know? That's it. They get the computer and that's it.
When the schools brought out the
Always been
computers,
that,
we lost nearly all the wheelie kids. For a number of reasons, I refused to provide them with touchscreens. The schools provided the kids with touchscreens. So what I did was put a computer in front of me from a wheelchair, and to get to the screen, strain time, I have a C7 disc injury as well as the lumbar, and I thought, well, that's a waste of space if I'm going to provide something that's going to make the child have more pain. So we lost a few people over that. The parents believed that the computer from the school was for 100% use. I said, but you know, they'd take them home. What are they going to do when they get home? So no, they handed back their laptops to us. They all came back.
Really?
Yes. So they then went and bought laptops for their kiddies so they wouldn't lose face by coming back. Not a single one came back.
Really? So
And look,
how many did you lose?
the people that are here representing the kiddies. I like Jazz's character. I saw her smile for the first time down at LG Park, which is the Myers family home. Huge place. Apparently you can ride his horse for an hour that way, and that way, and without going off the property. But I guess if your name is Sydney Meyer, that's reasonable.
Oh, okay.
And Jazz is the first recipient of an iPad. I was a bit iffy about iPads. I thought it's just a gimmick. Colin and I had a look at them and decided that they were crap. But what we missed out on, the fact was, what we look at and use information technology is totally different to what 10, 12, 13-year-old does. And Carly, who's my granddaughter, recently asked could she swap her computer for a iPad, and she said, I want an iPad 2 because I need the battery life. Her sugar level goes from 1 to 30 every day, so she can go into a coma like that. And she has the machine that plugs into her side, and what the Apple program has got is software that can talk to the machine and then using the internet part send it to the doctor.
Oh, very good.
You get on the phone as well.
Yeah. And she doesn't have any accessories. All she's got is a security cover for the back of the iPad, which protects the back, and she can basically put it in a handbag. So you've got nothing like the weight or the size of a laptop to carry around. So I pretty well see now why. And of course,
Yeah, just pick it up, move it around, it's really light and easy to use. There's plenty of background.
you can get attachments for them which will control the television. They've got Dragon voice software, which is a free application, and I tried it, and it actually works. Normally, voice applications that are free don't work. What was the other thing? You can get it's an attachment for photos, but half of the USB keys that are out in the marketplace will work on it. So you can actually put stuff onto a USB key, plug it into the thing for photos, and move your data backwards and forwards. You just have to keep trying them until you find one that works. But Apple doesn't talk about that.
One of the agencies,
Just a sec.
sorry, one of the agencies accused that have computers with your kids, are they mostly secondary or primary?
When they started, they were primary.
So mostly
And then when they went to secondary, we got them all new laptops, which we thought, oh, well, word will get out about that. And it didn't. But then on top of that, you've got the fact that Tricia had a triple biro transplant and a few other things. Colin's had some major problems. I've had major problems, which Brian had major problems. Dave had major problems. Who didn't have major
Who
problems?
had major problems in this room?
So it's not like we've been promoting it. What were you saying?
Yeah, can we just mention the terms and conditions, which isn't, we were talking about communication a little while ago, because you said nobody gets back. This has been my worry all the way through. Every year I've mentioned it.
Yes.
I sent out the terms and conditions, and a lot of people did fill in the last page and sent it back, and then a lot of people didn't, and so I sent them out again. And a lot of people just don't even bother to respond.
That's
let
what I get
alone
worried about.
fill them in.
When there's no, Richard wants a letter, not a soul.
That's right.
I'll accept
That's right. And no,
You know?
and this is what they've all got their computers,
Yeah.
BDI computers for.
Yeah.
And another thing, when I ask them for letters for the annual report, so many people just don't bother to respond.
Well, we think they've got them for social communication because that's the purpose of providing them, but that's not what the kiddies think, unfortunately.
No.
They've got them to have a bit of fun.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that,
Yeah.
as long as we just get them to respond when we ask.
Yeah, occasionally wouldn't hurt, would
But you
it?
can't ask a very sick child to...
No, but you can ask the
Act like
parents,
an
can't you?
animal.
I mean, they're happy that they don't have a file.
I got a very good letter back, and I think that I put a photograph of Jazz with the horse talking in her ear, and the old dog came up to her. I've seen Jazz only a few times, and the first time at Dame Elizabeth, she reminded me of Thomas when I first saw Thomas when he was, 5, little cabbage patch doll. She was obviously not comfortable with Dame Elizabeth and the other kiddies in their wheelchairs around, and she didn't say boo. But big smiles down at LG Park with the animals. And I said to the Myers, even though Mr. and Mrs. Meyer are no longer part of that family trust, could we still go to LG Park? I would still like to bring the kids down. When they go from state school to high school, they have to have a new computer. All of the high schools have that rule. So that's a chance to go down.
Richard, you want the time?
Okay, yeah.
My grandson's got high functioning autism. He got given iPad, and they're using them now as treatment for the high functioning autism. So it might be just another option to go down the track with it.
Items without notice. Nothing has been presented to us today or by email. It would help us when Tricia does those storybooks that are on the table, if something really interesting has happened. You've had a good find with Skype or something on the computer. If you send it to us, send us some photos so we can put them in our stories. Basically, that's the end of the AGM. Have I missed anything?
The Treasurer's report, didn't you?
Yes. And we've done all the motions and everyone voted and carried and...
You need to appoint an auditor. You will need to appoint an auditor for this meeting.
well, we can. What's his name? It's
Mark,
in the annual report.
Mark Peterson.
Mark Peterson. Can somebody nominate Mark as the auditor? Brian, seconder?
Oh, I'll second it.
Yes, all those in favour? Yes? Yeah, 100%. Right.
He's a lovely man.
So, would you please stay and...
Just that the annual report that I've done hasn't got the audit report in it yet because he hasn't returned it yet. So if you're wondering where it is in this annual report, we haven't got it yet.
They're not for taking up there, they're for looking.
Oh,
If you like the books, you can buy them.
But I've done quite a few annual reports, so if a few of them want to take them,
The committee people
committee
are
can
welcome
take
to
them.
take them.